Hi guys, it's Tony Robbins. You're listening to Habits and Hustle. Crush it.
So today on Habits and Hustle, we have a really special guest. I mean, super, super special. It is Mickey Guyton, and this is very meaningful to me. I've known Mickey, over 20 years. I knew her when she first moved to LA, and before she became a really huge country star. And you know, she's been grinding and working in the music industry for many, many, many years. And her story is nothing if not inspiring. And she is exceptionally resilient. We're going to talk all about her rise to fame. For those of you who don't know who Mickey is, she is a country star. Her song, Remember Her Name, made history as the first Black artist to earn a Grammy nomination for Best Country Album. She just performed at the Super Bowl doing the national anthem. She has multiple fantastic projects in the works. She co-hosted or guest starred The Ellen Show. Like I said, she's nominated for Best Country Album, Best Country Song, Best Country Solo Performance. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for this girl. This girl is exceptionally talented, but more importantly, she is a beautiful soul, inside and out. And I cannot tell you how happy I am for her success. It couldn't happen to a more amazing person. And like I said, you're going to really love her story, her rise to fame, so to speak, and how she kept on falling and failing, but her resilience obviously paid off. Please enjoy this podcast episode. This is a very exciting podcast today.
Yes, it is.
It's so exciting because I've known this girl since she was wee high, if you're watching, or like, you know, very, very small. And now she's a global sensation. Well, you know, you are actually. And, you know, well, I call her Michael, but it's Mickey Guyton.
Hello.
Who is up for 3 Grammys. I can't even believe it.
It's wild.
3 Grammys.
It's wild.
Performing at the Super Bowl in like 2 weeks, doing the national anthem. And I mean, just your whole career and the trajectory of how, like, since I've known you, how it's happened, it's so crazy to me.
It's crazy.
And you haven't changed. Like, even like
you haven't changed.
No, okay, we go back and forth all the time, but you literally have not changed. Like, you look the same, you act the same.
You do too. You just have
girl.
blonde hair.
Well, this was more of an accident, the blonde hair, than it was really. I wanted to go a little lighter, but the woman,
I love it. It looks really good on you.
Really? I think it's a little too blonde.
When you had curly hair, that's when I knew you.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I still do. This is just like one of those like styles that are just like here for, and also, what kind of hair did you have back then?
I probably had micro braids, maybe.
No, you didn't have
weaves. I definitely had a weave.
You probably had a weave.
Now I'm doing lace front wigs. That's the new thing.
This is really nice.
Isn't this so cute?
It's beautiful.
This is Rihanna.
You look really. That's a
yeah. I call her Rihanna.
And it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And like the headband, it's like you're so
glamorous. I tried for you.
I know. You showed up like so nice, and I'm wearing like my gym clothes underneath here,
I
which is so
almost wore
embarrassing.
my gym clothes, but I was like, I gotta step it up.
You stepped it up for me.
It's the elevation.
Oh my gosh, I'm flattered. Where do we start? So I didn't because it's you. So everyone here, whoever's listening, so I've known Michael, otherwise AKA Mickey, for many, many, many years.
Since I was 19.
Since you were
20 years almost.
20
wow.
years. I trained her when she was on MCA Universal. It was MCA Universal, and through Clyde Lieberman.
Yes.
You were one of my subjects at hand, but we became.
I had a 6-pack because of you.
I mean, you did?
Yeah.
Oh God, girl. Well, you were also 19 years old.
I was like tiny.
You were tiny. You still are, by the way. You still are tiny. But we had like an instant connection, and we were like sisters from the second we met.
Yes.
And you know, even though like many years have gone by, I feel like the connection never wavered. It never changed.
Never.
And here we are. So I'm watching let's to give you some background. So her and I stayed in touch for many years. And then we kind of like drifted apart because of life.
For like the last 10 years when I was in Nashville, that's kind of when.
Yeah, when you were in Nashville. Uh-huh. And then I'm like watching, the Today Show, eating my breakfast, and who pops up on my screen? little Michael singing a song. And then, next thing you know, and then I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like Googling and I'm like, oh yeah, up for like all these country music awards and all these things. And like, what's happened with your career? And this is, by the way, a great example of, an overnight success takes 20 years in the making, right? Like nothing is ever what you think it is, right? No. It wasn't like you just appeared on, it
wasn't like all of a sudden,
right? So first of all, let's even go through it. So like, I really want to talk to you because you really kind of like you did the work. You were in it. Mm-hmm. You were, when I met her, she was like, when she was signed, she was like you were touted to be like the next Whitney Houston. Mm-hmm. This girl has pipes on her that I don't even think people even like know to this degree. Mm-mm. This girl can sing. And, you went through so many labels and like, it's like a grind.
It's a grind. It's a grind. People don't understand that once you get a record deal, excuse me, you automatically assume that you've made it. And that is not the case. Like the signing a record deal is like the wedding.
That's a great way to put it.
That's like the wedding. Like you spend all this time. It's this beautiful moment. And then the actual marriage happens where you have to do the work. And either you sink or you swim. And I sunk for a long time.
Well, also we should talk about it's not that necessarily you sunk. It's how the business of music is. Yes. People think, like you said, when you get the deal, that it's going to be like rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah.
And on both ends, it can be. Well, I want you to talk about
every
your
single time I've been signed or gotten opportunities in music, a lot of times the label was folding. And people don't realize that, like back in the early 2000s, the music industry was going through a huge, massive transition. Like it was crumbling everywhere. You used to be able to walk into record labels and there'd be like 10 A&R people and loud and music playing everywhere. And it was like such a vibrant experience. And now you can hear a pin drop walking through record labels. It's like few people doing many jobs, and that was happening. Every record label folded. All the presidents of all the labels were getting fired, and labels were literally going away. And so that was something that I had to deal with when I had first moved to Nashville. LA.
But you're from
Texas.
Right.
I'm born and raised. I grew up in Waco, Texas, and like the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then I moved to LA to do music. That's where I saw the most opportunity for me, was there.
Well, wait, talk about how you even got to LA, because you were already, when you moved here, how old were you when you actually moved to LA?
19.
You moved when you were 19?
Yeah, 19.
So, but you were doing music back in Texas.
Yeah, I was doing music and recording demos and writing music with a man named Robbie Neville, who had a big hit back in the day called C'est La Vie. And that's who really started helping me kind of get into the music industry. And I think the issues that I had living in when I first moved to LA is I was just the girl that could sing, and I was kind of just following what everybody was telling me to do. And I wasn't really being an artist. I was just being a singer. So many people can sing. There's people that can sing 10 times better than me. And there's people that can sing okay, that have massive careers because they have a vision of what they want to do as an artist. I didn't have that. I just had a good voice and I didn't know where to place it. So I placed it wherever people assumed that I should be in.
That's such a good point. You know, you've never actually said it like that. And I think that's so true. Like there's a distinction between being an artist and being a good singer.
100%.
And you had a great voice, and
but
like
you
were being led to do this and do that, but you didn't, what would you say an artist is? Would be the definition of someone who's like a true artist?
I think a true artist, whether they are writing the song or not, are able to interpret a song. They have a very distinctive voice, and they have a vision of who they are as an artist, like a Madonna, like a Britney Spears, like I'm trying to think, like a Toni Braxton, like a Shania Twain. They all had a specific art, like that they were very much so involved in the creative process. And then there's people that are just singers that sing the demos of the songs. And I was almost acting like a demo singer than an actual artist.
So when was the transition? Like, when did you kind of come? That's a great epiphany. When did you think of it? Was that like much, much later? Did you realize?
It was much later. It was losing deals. It was working at restaurants. It was couch surfing. It was literally having $4.98 in my bank account in life, which has happened to me signing a deal and realizing that country music is where I felt led to be. And as I was living in Nashville, there was a man named Daryl Brown who works with Leanne Rimes, who I was writing with. And he told me this was the best advice anybody has ever given me. And he says that when you sign a record deal, you need to tell your label how to label, your managers how to manage, your co-writers, songwriters, how to co-write, your business manager, how to business manage, your tour manager, how to tour manage, your creative director, how to creative direct. And I was just like, it didn't really, I didn't process it until later. And I was thinking, oh, I need to be the CEO of my business. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like as an artist? What does that look like? So I started treating my music not just as I just love music, but as a business. So I started going on Pinterest and looking at different images of people. It didn't matter who they were. And I'm like, well, I see myself as that. And what do I want this music to sound like? And I realized my voice sounds best with piano. So let me put piano-driven songs as I'm writing. I found a female Canadian producer in Nashville that
Canadian, of course,
out and about.
Out and about.
And I love Canadians. Canadians will tell you that I love Canadians.
Because we're nice. There's nothing not to like.
Y'all are very, very nice.
We are.
And so I just started having my hand in every part of my career. And that to me is an artist. It's not just being up there and singing well. It's you being a businesswoman of your brand. That
is first of all, so well said. And I could not even agree with you more. And most people don't take that ownership and that lead and they hand it over to other people. And that's when their career really does go astray.
Yep.
Right? It's like you're basically treating it like any other business.
Like you're working for them.
Right. But you're reversing it. Yep. And that, because people are usually so grateful that they get that deal that they'll just acquiesce and just take what's given to them.
That's what I did.
Right. Versus actually flipping it on its head. Yep. But do you think you were able to do that because of your experience? You were kind of you've been down and out so much, and it was like the power of resilience.
Yeah.
You are obviously so resilient that you're able to get right back up.
Yeah.
Cause I remember just with you had at the beginning, 3 or 4 deals. You were at MCA, then you were with Babyface. Yeah. And then you were with what was the other one?
Universal. It was actually Universal, Motown. And then there was a bunch of other ones. Then I signed to Capitol Nashville, which then as I signed to Capitol, that label was sold to Universal.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I can't, even when I moved to Nashville, I still couldn't escape that. And for 2 years, the record label didn't even have a president.
Really? Mm-hmm. So how was it?
For any new artist, you're screwed.
So then how does that work? And then why would you get, how did it get dropped? What happened with Babyface actually? Because I remember that when that MCA thing it's a really foggy because I don't remember either.
It was just if you work with an artist that's as massive as Babyface, they're going to still focus on where their bread and butter is. No matter
Right.
how much they love you as an artist, they've got to go where their bread and butter is. So you're definitely on the back burner.
So are there labels out there that are known to be like the ones that actually help build a career? Because I think to kind of go on what you said earlier, which I think was really smart about the CEO of your business, a lot of times people try, like, either they don't think that way because they are so grateful that they were given the opportunity,
Yeah.
but isn't there a lot of pushback? Because I would imagine it depends on who your partners are.
I think it depends on who your partners are. It depends on your relationship with the label. I was really fortunate to be signed to Capitol, which is a very good record label. And the president of that record label, Cindy Mabe, a woman in Nashville, she and I have a great relationship.
Was it after? I mean,
This is way after. This
okay,
is
so
me.
now they have a
Fast
CEO.
forward,
now they have a-
fast forward to Nashville, Capitol Records merging into Universal,
Okay.
and all of that fixing itself out. And then Cindy Mabe is the president.
Okay.
And I have a great relationship with her. And I've kind of followed in her footsteps and have really embraced, first of all, it's so badass that there's a woman in Nashville who's the head of a record label.
Yeah.
That's just rare. That's very rare. Very, yes, a very good old boys system. There's a woman in there that is fighting the fight for women. And she has been so supportive for artists. Universal Nashville, I can't speak for every other label, but from my personal experience, Universal is the best record label in Nashville. They do not give up on their artists. They give their artists a chance to find themselves, and they don't just throw you away, which so many record labels do. You're like a noodle. They throw it on the wall, and if it sticks, great, they go with it. If not, they cut off, the fat.
Yeah. So tell me, how does it work? So like, give us like an idea. So then you get signed, like you were saying, it's the wedding.
Yes.
And then
it's the creative process. And so often,
what's the process?
So often, more often than not, you get signed to a record label and then they love you and then they try to change everything that they loved about you to fit into whatever the times are, whatever the fad is, whatever the it thing is of the moment. They try to fit you in that. And which is it does such a disservice to people as artists, because then you have to like scrap everything that you did to fit this.
Well, it also doesn't make sense because they signed you for a particular reason, because you obviously stood out in a way.
Yes.
And then they try to change you to what they think, but there's a disconnect there,
There's
right?
a huge disconnect. So
like, why is that? Because that still happens. Like
it happens. It's like
it happens on these shows.
Different story, same story, different cast.
Right. It's like it happens, but don't you think that people would have people like the executives would have figured that out by now?
You would think, but money talks more than anything else. Money talks, and no matter what, that's where people are going to go. Wherever the money is, they're going to go.
So, but when they do that, and there's clearly and then people are like, there are more singers that are doing that, right? Because art, if you kind of claim your power, I guess, and become an artist, you won't allow that maybe necessarily. But where are the choices there? Like, let's say, for example,
there aren't choices. I'm just personally was very, very lucky to have a label that allowed me to figure it out.
But what if you, I was going to say, let's say cut to back when 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of acknowledge that and realize that and try to do that.
Yeah.
What would have happened? Would you have been dropped because you were too
for sure.
bitchy or demanding?
Depending on who the president of the label is at the time, 100%. You are there to sing and do what they tell you to do.
Right.
100%.
And so you just,
or that's what I think. I don't want to say that 100% because I don't know, but I believe that was more of your fate.
Right. Until you're,
because I've seen and heard artists that have put their foot down and said, this is what we're going to do. And the label's like, okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
You can do that yourself.
And the truth of the matter is it doesn't always work, right? Because some people can have kooky ideas
100%.
and they don't know what they're like.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good idea. So I'm kind of on, now that you mentioned that, I feel like, and maybe you can correct me, but also you have to kind of earn that space a little bit. I think that if it becomes like such a double-edged sword, right? Because if you throw the noodle on and it doesn't stick because they're doing what they want you to do, but what if you, a lot of times you need to have like some kind of success to then be able to have the ability to call your shots, right? It's like a double. So like, that
is what happened with me.
So what happened with you when they signed you to
when
Capitol,
they signed
Universal?
me? I did everything.
The woman wasn't there yet. What's her name again? Cheryl?
Cindy Mabe. No, she was not. No, she was. She was there. Excuse me. Cindy Mabe was, but she wasn't the president of the label.
Oh, she wasn't. Okay.
No.
What was she doing at the time?
Vice president.
Okay.
So when I signed there, I did everything that they told me to do. I sang the songs that they told me to sing. I tried to write the songs they wanted me to write. I used the producers that they thought should produce me. I did everything that they told me to do. And it did not work. And it didn't work for a long time until finally to be honest, I had two different sides of me. I was writing the side that I was hoping would fit into the country music world. And then I was writing the stuff that just fit me as an artist, that I loved, the stuff that felt cathartic for me to write and to sing. And the stuff that was me never really saw the light of day for a long time until I met with Cindy Mabe personally by ourselves. And I started just playing her these songs. I was like, I have this, nobody's really responding to it. And she was like, well, this is really good. And I was like, I thought so too, but I just I didn't know what it was a bunch of men telling me what I should do. And not every man knows what a woman wants to hear.
Right. Exactly. It's true.
And I had nothing but men telling me what women want to hear. And I'm like, well, I'm a woman. I know what a woman wants to hear, at least what I want to hear.
Right.
And that is not what I want to hear. The stuff that they wanted me to sing. And so I started just following my instinct, my internal gut instinct that was screaming at me for a long time. And that's the other thing that people have to understand. Like, first of all, you have to have the talent. You have to have the songs and the vision. But you also have a gut instinct. We all have it. We all know what's right for ourselves. And even when we go against our better judgment, 9 times out of 10, it screws us over.
Right.
And this voice was screaming at me to do this. And I just kept pushing it aside and pushing it aside. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know what you're talking about. These people know.
Right. You don't trust yourself because you feel the people with more quote unquote experience know.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't know. And you have to understand that too. A lot of times these people in these high-powered positions have no freaking idea what they're talking about. They have no idea what they're doing, like how they're even in these positions.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle that we have been able to sustain this country with amazing. So many people that have no vision or clue or innovativeness that are in these major positions.
It's really amazing. And when you get more into the weeds, you see it, it's so clear and you see it more and more and it's baffling.
Yep.
It's totally baffling.
Yep.
But also you started so young, and like a lot of times when people start so young,
you don't have the strength or the knowledge to be that way. Some people do.
And also the foresight and the ability to stay like you seem like you kind of, well, not even seem, you're so level-headed and like, and you're so down to earth with it. Yeah. Like a lot of times people, it ruins you. Like, cause you were not like, let's go even back further when in Texas, because even to get to LA at 19, to get this big record deal and to even do all that stuff, there was something obviously that people saw about you when you were younger. So what were you doing when you were like 14, 15, 16, 15? Because you were in this, you have been doing this since you were like a small kid.
I was just singing in church around my school, singing the national anthem for the basketball games at Mansfield High School in Texas. Like that's all I was doing.
And then Robbie Neville found you at a church?
Yeah. So I found this vocal studio, which I don't want to name the name because this woman was just horrendous.
Is it still around?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. She was a really wealthy woman in Texas that had a vocal studio and I guess she'd worked with like Jessica Simpson or something like that. And that was her selling point.
Oh.
So all these kids were going there because this was our big shot. And this one was taking it to the bank.
Wow. Right. She's just like leveraging off of that one name.
100%.
Yeah.
Like she
should be
with
in LA.
no intentions. But I guess I'll give this woman credit because she did throw the seminar, which is where I met Robbie Neville. Somehow she got Robbie to do
Why
the
was
seminar.
Robbie Neville even there?
I have no idea. She had, I don't know how she got him there, but she did.
And Robbie Neville, by the way, tell people, wasn't he the guy behind High School Musical?
Yes, Robbie Neville's behind High School Musical, but he also had a big hit in the 80s called C'est La Vie.
C'est la vie, c'est la vie. I totally remember it.
Yeah, so he was the one that kind of really took me under his wing, and it just went from there.
But wait,
to LA.
so he finds you? No. So this is like the nuggets that I'm.
Yeah, I was like
interested.
17 maybe.
So you were singing at this thing. You meet him through this woman at this thing, and then what happens? He says,
and then he was like, he pulled me aside, like, holy shit, oh my God, come to LA. And so I went to LA and I was just doing demos with him just to kind of like try to find a space for me and my voice.
Between 17 and 19 though, what were you doing?
Yes, that I was working with him and recording
you
demos.
didn't move here until 19?
No, not until I was 19.
So
I was still in high school.
I know, but like you were doing 2 years of just like you were doing it from Texas.
He would come to Texas, and we were putting together music and writing songs,
And then why did you come at 19? Like what happened?
I graduated.
So the second you graduated.
Once I graduated from high school, that's when I moved.
And then, so did you have the record deal already or no?
Yes, I did. I got my record deal right when I was still in high school and they were negotiating the
deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I still to this day, I don't even know, like, because you were like going to be this big hot thing. Why did you even get dropped?
That's because that's when the merger happened.
Oh, and that's when, because a new, the new head came in. So whenever a new president, a new head of a label comes in, they bring their own people, they bring their own talent. They want their own talent. And so that's when
they start just shaving off the roster.
And that's when you had to go find someone else.
Yes.
Right. So this went on for how many years? This whole back and forth for you?
Once I moved to LA when I was 19.
19, yeah. And then between LA and then to Nashville, how long, like that was how many years?
So from LA to Nashville, I was in LA from 19 to 26. So
you moved to Nashville when you were 26 years old?
When I was 27.
27 years old. And then, okay, so then when you were like waiting tables and all this stuff, then you moved to Nashville.
Yeah. And during that time, like no deal, going to school, figuring out, like at one point in time, I'd given up music altogether.
And you went back to school. You went to Santa Monica.
I went to school. I went to Santa Monica City College and LA Valley College because I could get both of my credits from both of those. So there were some days where I was at Santa Monica City College and then some days I was all the way out in the valley and I lived in Playa Vista.
That's right. And then what were you taking at school?
I was studying business administration.
Because you're like, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, at least if I have a business degree, then I can figure it out from there.
So what made you go back into the business?
So
were you singing at all?
No, I wasn't singing at all. I was perfectly fine giving it up. Like I was okay with that. Like I just didn't have any opportunities. I didn't know. Like I was just done. Like it's just so traumatic. It's not traumatic. That's not the word, but to see your dreams slip out of your hands like that, it is very disheartening. And it's like, this industry is so fickle and so materialistic. And so like, even when you're struggling as an artist, you get a signing bonus. I don't even know how much they are now. Maybe $50,000 is what you get for signing. That's nothing.
Really?
It's nothing. And that's it.
What were what were they back then?
It was like 100, but still.
Right. So it's definitely decreased. Because you're right. The music business, that was like the beginning when it was, the people were going on iTunes and Napster.
Yeah, they were like iTunes wasn't even it was just LimeWire and Napster.
Yeah, LimeWire and Napster.
So nobody was making money. Still aren't really. And so yeah, like you get that money and that's supposed to last you until you sell records.
I know it's a crazy business. We're going to get into all that because I think it's super interesting too.
You
It's
know,
like,
so how do you do that, but still portray that you're somebody, but you need a job?
100%. Yeah, like exactly. Like
So
you need to make money.
you have to make money. So once I got out to Nashville, even signing a record
but
deal.
still haven't got to that. So like, what
Okay.
made you decide? So you're here.
Okay.
You are. You work at the restaurants, and you're
Yeah.
also doing this. School.
And so I became friends. I auditioned for American Idol.
Oh my God, I love this. I totally
hated
forgot
this.
about that.
It was the worst experience I've ever had. I don't even know if I'm supposed to speak on it, but I had a horrible experience. It just wasn't fun. You're in this room full of people that are exploiting themselves for television. And I'm an artist. I'm a singer. That's my first love.
I was going to say, at that point when you did American Idol, were you an artist or were you a singer?
I was an artist.
You already were like developing into
Well,
that.
it wasn't even that. Like I didn't have that exact mentality, but that's where I felt I was.
Right.
And so I just shut down in that environment.
Well, what happened? What was the process like? What is the process?
Well, they're looking for stories. They have a cast that they are looking to fill. And it felt like that to me. And I couldn't give them that. I'll give you everything that I have, but at the same time, I don't want to give you everything that I have. Like I can't give you that much of a window into my world. And that's what they're expecting.
Right.
And it's not a bad thing at all. Like
They're trying
it's
to make good TV.
it's good, it's good TV. So I don't blame them. But for me personally, I didn't do well on that.
Did you audition? Like what would make, what even?
My ex-boyfriend had me audition. That's the only reason why I did it.
And so you like, he said, come on, just audition.
Yeah. And
blah,
so
blah,
I didn't
blah.
even think I was going to make it. And then I got on the show and I regretted it. I regretted it. Like I wasn't happy. Like you're stressed out. You're nervous. It's all of this kind of stuff. It was awful. I hated it.
What number did you get to?
I got to top 50.
See, that to me is so crazy to me. How did you even get to, like, how many people who are auditioning, by the way, are in your shoes, who are people who are on labels before, who are like,
There's so many.
I would say probably 50% of them.
And it's morally like,
I can imagine.
Like for me, I was like, this is what I've come to.
Exactly.
And I don't want to disrespect
but it's
the show because I sang on that show with one of the contestants, but it was even harder for me looking at it because it's for good TV and those hopefuls, those American Idol hopefuls that want to win. I knew as soon as that show is off and show is over, they're on to the next.
Totally.
And those hopefuls, those human beings that were so happy, like it goes away.
Well, then but people I think the shows had what? Like they had Kelly Clarkson,
Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood. Who else? That's it?
Like Ruben Studdard, he had but the ones that have lasted.
Clay? No.
Yeah, but he's in politics now. But the only ones that have that I can remember
Those two.
is Carrie Underwood and Kelly Clarkson. I don't remember anybody else.
Yeah, that's it.
But that's really kind of what the music industry is.
Well, and by the way,
Because only the top 1% of the 1% make it. So think of all those people that have auditioned.
Not to mention, you think you know what I think is interesting? At least American Idol had a couple of massive stars that came from it. I cannot think of one person off of The Voice or any of these other shows that people are doing it for the exposure. That's why they're at the end of the day doing or America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
They're doing it because they want the exposure.
Yeah. But what happens when you get the exposure? What happens after that?
But that's what I'm saying. Why has there never been anybody else who's hit it off of those shows? Like, especially The Voice, because that show has such high numbers, I feel.
And they're such great vocalists.
And these are people who are great singers, great vocalists. That maybe it's because
it's so hard to be an artist.
Because they don't have, has there been a person out of on The Voice that ever hit it? I don't think there's ever been.
I know Cassidy Pope, but
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
So then what happens? So basically, does that say that just because you have exposure, because week after week, people are watching you do that show
and they fall in love with, they love the show, but will they falling invested in the artists, like allowing them and giving them the chance to become artists? That's, I don't know. I can't speak on, I don't know what happens after that. I've never.
Well, even the people who win, I never hear. You don't hear from them.
That's it. It's like, woo!
I know. On to the next.
The champagne and the balloons, and then it's blue, blue.
Isn't that strange? Because think about how much exposure they're getting.
That's kind of how it feels after you have a record deal. Woo! Pop the champagne,
and then you're like, boop. Yeah. So like then what? So then like it's unbelievable
and not everybody's given the chance. I was really fortunate to have a label invested in me and giving me the chance.
So like what happens?
So,
tell us what happens. So you get signed. Okay, so then
I get signed.
But wait, hold on. I want to go in order. I've got so many questions for you. I want to first know about how you got back into the business.
Yes.
And then we can talk about the actual the nitty gritty of like what happens after you get signed.
Yes.
Okay.
So I became, after I auditioned for American Idol, I ran into, and once I auditioned, made it to the top 50, got let go. The same week that I got let go, I went to a bar in Santa Monica and ran into Randy Jackson.
So crazy.
I know. And so he remembered me and we exchanged numbers and we became friends. And then he introduced me to this woman named Jessica Bendinger who wrote Bring It On and Stick It. His office was in the same office where she was. And she and I became really great friends and she became a mentor for me and just a good person that I wouldn't be where I am without her. And
how crazy that Randy Jackson was at the bar
a week later. And I was super defeated from that. Like I was super embarrassed from that.
It's so
you know, it's so crazy. That episode, that season I was on, the opening commercial for the Super Bowl that year was me singing on American Idol.
No way.
I swear.
Talk about like a full circle.
It's a very full circle moment. And I was the one singing. Yeah. And I had to watch that with that heartbreak. Like, why would they even have used that? If you knew I'm not even...
That is so interesting to me that happened. And now like literally like 10 years, 11, 12 years later, you're going to be singing at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's wild.
It is. It's like kind of, I think this is your destiny. Mm-hmm. So that, I mean, the fact that Randy Jackson is sitting at a bar a week later and he remembered you. So how did you go up to him or what?
I went up and was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And he was like, oh my God. You know how he talks.
Yeah.
He's such a nice man, by the way.
I heard he's very nice. Actually.
He's very, 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 very nice. And so that's when I started working with Jessica and she was the one, she was like.
But why did he even like, what did he, like, he's like, oh, I want to introduce you to her because she can help you do
because
what?
I was at the office. I was at his office talking about music and she happened to come in.
Oh, she happened to come in. Okay.
And so then that's how we became friends. And she was writing a book and she made a soundtrack to the book. And so I volunteered to do demos for her.
What book was she writing?
It was called Written in the Stars.
Okay.
And so she was writing songs to it and asked me to sing on them. And did I say volunteer? I think she asked me to sing on them. And so I said, of course. And so I started singing the demos and she was like, she goes, I swear you have country elements in your voice. I was like, well, funny you say that. I mean, I've listened to country music my whole life from Texas. Like that's kind of what I listened to before even Whitney Houston was like Leanne Rimes. And
because you were here doing pop stuff.
Yeah. And so, and I was even doing Whitney Houston demos out here. Like if anybody needed a song for Whitney Houston, they would ask me to sing the demos.
Oh, trust. Okay, believe me, I know because I would. Okay, this a little side note. When me and Michael would go for lunch or do anything together,
make me sing for random people.
Literally make her sing like a pony because she was so amazing, and I could not believe this girl's voice.
I know, I was like your little show pony.
You were, and you were a great show pony. And I'd be like, you don't understand how talented this girl is. Okay, you have no idea. Okay, Michael, sing.
Yes,
and then like she'd be having
your
like
voice
food
would
in your
sound
mouth.
just like that.
Exactly.
Too. Like, oh God.
And it was so true. It was like authentic and like because I'm telling you, I've still this day, I still think you have one of the best voices I've ever heard. No, it's the truth. And like, wait till you people hear. Like people don't even know yet how incredible. Okay. Anyway, sorry. So continue. So she was.
So I was like, well, funny thing, you know, like Leanne Rimes was the reason why I wanted to even be a singer. And she was like, you really need to consider singing country. And I was like, I would love to, but how do I even start? How do I even get there? Like, is there even a Black person singing country music? Like, I didn't even know that.
By the way, yes, there is. And I thought about it afterwards.
It's Darius Rucker.
Yes.
Yeah. At the time, he had just released that record. So I hadn't even known. Oh. And when I tell you, like, I listened to country music, like when I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, like I was listening to Rascal Flatts.
Really? Oh my God.
In my car. Like that, I really, like, that's what I listened to.
That is
all of it, you know.
But you were doing Whitney Houston demos here. Is it because people just assumed because you had that voice?
So they would make me, I would do those. And so I never, you know, I didn't know how to get there. And so I remember I started just Googling on the computer, Black country singers. And when I looked there, I obviously saw Charlie Pride, R.I.P., and then this woman named Linda Martell. And then I saw this woman named Reese Palmer. And I was like, oh, wow, there's a recent Black girl that sings country music. And so she had like a top 40. And I was like, oh, well, if she can do that, then I for sure, you know, can pursue a career. So at this time, you know, I'm still working 2 jobs. The idea is in my head, but I don't even know how to get there. And then I remember at a time, then I broke up with my ex-boyfriend who made me audition, not made me, but I auditioned for American Idol to impress him.
Yeah. Oh God.
My God. Whatever. That's on another subject.
That's a whole other podcast.
We do dumb things when we're young.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And so once I broke up with him, like I had nothing left here, you know? And so I was just like, how do I get to Nashville? I don't know anybody. And I remember—
Why do you have to be in Nashville to sing country, by the way?
It's the good old boy system.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So that just like, if you want to be a country
singer, you initially, I believe, need to be in Nashville because Nashville does have some of the best songwriters in the world.
In that genre.
Mm-hmm. They do. They have some of the most incredible songwriters.
Okay.
So you would need that for the experience and immerse yourself in the community.
Right.
You do have to do that. I frankly think that you should go wherever you're happy. I'm happier living here than I was living in Nashville.
Right.
It gives, you know, like LA gives me a vantage point, and I didn't have any when I lived in Nashville. Like my whole world was that, and I immersed myself in it, and it kind of messed with my mental morale. So I can't. No.
Do you have to go back though after you've made it to after you hit a certain place in your career? Do people? Because I feel like all the country people still live in Nashville.
Yeah, I mean it's an easier way of life. You're not paying double taxes.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. No, for that reason alone.
Alone, like I get it. Like you're paying taxes for your company and you're paying taxes for you. It's really, really, it's a lot.
So more people do it more for a financial reason.
I believe so, and some people like that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm as much of an outward and outgoing person I seem like I am. I'm actually a recluse, and I really like my home space. Like if I lived in your big old house, like, I don't know if I would leave.
I don't leave. I don't
I
like to
would
leave
never.
often.
I would never leave. Like, I would sit right here.
Honestly, I think it's hard for me to leave sometimes. I have my gym here.
Oh, you've got everything. Like, I
walk to the
would
grocery
not.
store.
Oh my God, I would not leave.
Thank you. Well, also, I'm similar to you. That's why I feel like I really resonate with you.
Because you give so much energy out constantly that
I'm always,
you're
feel
an
like
introvert, extrovert.
I'm an introvert. Exactly. Like, I feel like I'm an extrovert because I naturally could do that easily. It's me. It's my personality.
Yeah.
But then, like, at the end of the day, I don't love big crowds. I don't love,
That's too much.
I don't love parties.
No.
I never was a party girl.
I tried, but it wasn't my thing.
I tried,
either.
not my thing. I'm so much better at like one-on-one conversations
Yes.
and like deeper, meaningful relationships.
A dinner party, you know?
Yeah, like a very small group. I'm much more of that. So I feel
Yeah.
like people get people get very confused because they think, oh my God, you're such an extrovert. You're so la 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 la.
No.
But if they really know, I'm actually not that way.
Because when you're out like that, you're giving so much that you have to
Exactly.
go back inside to
Like,
replenish.
re-energize and replenish. I'm exhausted. Like
Exhausted.
my favorite thing in the world is like to watch like TV and just
The night.
sit on my couch. Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite part of the night. Once Grayson is in bed.
It's my favorite. And watch
sit
like my
there.
show. Like
Yeah.
my show. Like that's why I get like a lot of anxiety if there's like nothing to watch, like a good
Yeah.
season. I'm watching Yellowstone right now.
I heard it's so good. Everybody loves this
People
show.
think it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine. It's good. I don't think it's like the best show I've ever seen, but I think it's good.
TV's been really hard.
TV is, right?
It's really, I mean, that's why reality shows are my
Oh,
thing.
jeez. Okay. What are you watching?
Oh my God, all the
even
Real
wanna know.
Housewives.
Oh, God. See, I will not.
Portia's Family Matters or whatever.
Oh, which one?
Portia Family Matters.
Oh,
they
no, I
men
don't watch
your
that.
listeners might not know that, but I mean, I list like Love and Hip Hop, like trash.
Oh, you like trash
Trash shows.
God.
Like it's like I'm all up in somebody else's
Yeah,
business and it's
because
not mine.
You know why? Because it's a total distraction from real life.
It is.
Because
That's what it is.
You're like watching someone else's train wreck. That's
Yeah.
why those shows
so
do
it makes
so
me feel
well.
better about my life.
Well, why do you think those shows do so well? Like they're like the best rated shows.
Yes.
I'm like super into like Succession. I love Succession. Have you heard of that?
I have never watched it.
It's my favorite. I loved Ray Donovan. Like stuff
Was
like
that
that.
good too?
Loved. I was like, I'm like in love with Ray Donovan. I swear, he's like, and the movie just came out too.
Really?
Because
I
just-
never unless it's trash.
You're not into
So where I can kind of like not be that
you're
into
you're
it.
numbed out. Yeah, like I have to like the problem is like I watch it with Noah, and he gets so annoyed because I have to listen to every single word, and if I don't hear the word, I got to
You
rewind
rewind
it. It's like it takes me like 4 hours to watch like a 40-minute show.
See, that's why I like the trash
Yeah,
shows
totally.
because I don't have to really pay attention. I can be on my phone,
and you
like
can be
shopping.
exactly.
Yeah. It's a whole combination.
I have to revisit this whole
Yes.
like reality TV thing because I used to like it for that exact reason, and then I'm like, there's too many good shows on.
Yeah. There are too many, but then I have to pay attention and
You do. Have you seen the show You
I watch
on Netflix?
You.
I love that.
I love
the other one though, the one that is
how am I rooting for a stalker?
I know. 'cause
Like
he's
there's something
so
wrong with
charming
me.
and cute. He's so cute. The other one, have you seen Sex Life on Netflix?
No, is it good?
Oh, how have you not seen this show?
I have not.
Okay.
Did you ever watch Goop Lab?
I did watch it. Which one? The first season or the second season?
I think the first season with like the mushrooms and then
Oh,
the
I did
sex
see- I
therapy.
saw all
That was
that.
uncomfortable.
That was like, some of it's a little bit like,
I was like, this is too much.
you would hate the second season then.
Really? Is it just
It
as
was
uncomfortable?
all about couples and like sexuality.
No,
It was like, you would not like that one.
No.
But I will tell you that's not what Sex Life is about.
Okay.
And let me just tell you this part. Like, okay, the two stars of the show are actually really together in real life.
Oh, good.
So like, but they met on the show.
Oh,
So she was married. I think she was actually married to someone. I think she was married to the guy from the show Shameless, Steve something or other.
oh my God. And I love Shameless. I loved Shameless.
Okay, a lot of people love that show. I never really watched it, but she
It's
was
a
married
lot.
to him, and then they ended up together, and now like season 2's coming out. I'm telling you, it's like soft porn,
Oh God.
but maybe like one notch below.
okay.
But it's very
It's
good.
a lot?
It's
Okay.
a lot, but it's okay. Anyway,
Okay.
But I'm
Back
telling
to-
you, okay, no. But this is like I bet you people are like really like that show. It's a very good show. Okay.
back to where we were with Nashville,
living in Nashville.
So
then I looked and I saw Racy Palmer and I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I can do this, but I still didn't have an avenue. And I will never forget this. I was sitting at Chibo in West Hollywood. Yeah. And I went there with Jen and she would always buy me food because I was too poor and I couldn't afford any food. So she would take me out to dinner, which was so nice. Jessica. Not Jennifer. I'm looking at you because your name is Jen.
A lot of people call me Jessica, though. People get confused a lot between the Jessica and the Jennifer name. Yeah,
no, I keep calling. So I'm looking at you and I'm calling her Jennifer. Jessica.
Yeah. Jessica.
So I was sitting there with her and I was crying to her because I had nothing in my life. And when you start going through that like quarter life crisis, which we've all gone through, you're like 24.
Right. You were 26 at the time.
I was 24 at the time. Oh yeah. And I was like crying to her because I didn't know what to do with my life. And I knew I wanted to sing country music, but how the hell do you get there? And so I'll never forget it. And I was working 2 jobs at this time. I was working at a bar in Manhattan Beach and I was working at the cigar club in Beverly Hills. That was awful.
I totally remember that.
The sexual harassment we dealt with. And you never thought about it.
Is it just because a bunch of like rich dudes just hitting on you? Yeah.
Oh my God. It was disgusting.
So did you work there for the money, obviously?
Oh yeah. At the time, the tips were really good. And at the time I was making $13 an hour. And that's when minimum wage was like what? 7 or something like that.
That's right. That was like a big deal.
So I was like,
plus tips.
$13 an hour. Like that's a big deal. Yeah. So it really did help. And I could do my homework because I was in school and work. So
how much were you making in tips a night there?
Not a lot. Like it'd been like maybe $100 a night.
And then how much
I was working 5 days a week.
And then at the Manhattan place, how much were you
I was making about $300 a night.
Wow.
And I was working there Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay. Weekends. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that was awful too, but it's okay. We do what we have to do.
Right. You have to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. So I remember I had nothing. I was heartbroken. I wanted to do music. I wanted to sing country music, had no idea how to do that. And Jessica was like, she asked me, she was like, well, what is it that you want to do, Michael? And I was like, well, I really want to sing country music. And then she goes, well, then do it. Okay.
Exactly. Now what? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And she said, are you prepared? Which I thought was really, I didn't really understand what she was saying, but she was basically telling me like, are you really ready to put in the hard work? Because, I'm like this little 24-year-old. And what does a 24-year-old want? She wants major results with little work.
Yeah,
like that's what we want it to just happen.
Instant gratification.
That's what we want. And it's like, but it doesn't happen that way. And so she was basically asking me, are you really ready to put in the work and do what it takes? And I said, yes. And that was the end of that conversation. I went home. Still didn't know what I was doing. And then I ran into, I was going to move back home. I had made up in my mind that I was just going to move back home to Texas and finish out my degree there. I'd gotten all my credits. They should transfer and I should be able to go to like a university out there and live with my parents and it'd be easier for me. The day that I was going to tell my parents I was going to quit, or the day before, I was at a mall. This is when I was going to Santa Monica City College and LA Valley College. And I was out at LA Valley College and I went to the mall over there because it was close. And I was going to get my mom something. And I went to the Coach store and I bought her like this little $100 pouch. And that was a big deal.
That was a big, because you didn't have any money.
I didn't have any money. So it was like $125.
Did you buy it? Was it a birthday gift?
Yeah, it was her birthday gift. And I spent, nice. My money on that. And as I was coming down the stairs, I saw this DJ I knew when I was doing acting too. For those of you guys who know, I dabbled in acting too.
You were just doing everything.
And I hated it. I hated that too. Like the auditions and the headshots and Runyon Canyon. I hated it.
Runyon Canyon.
it's the actor and they have their headshots in the back of their cars. They go and get their shoes to hike Running Canyon.
Oh my God, that's so funny. And that's
it's so true. It's so true.
Oh my God, that's so true. So how long did you even last doing that?
I didn't last long. I hated it.
It's a grind too.
It's a grind it's a constant like rejection.
Constant.
Tenfold.
How is it a different rejection though from music though? Isn't it the same?
It is the same, but it's different.
Well, because you get more auditions, I guess, right? So
it's
more.
It's a constant rejection.
It's constant rejection daily, or like every time you're out there because you're.
I remember I went to audition, and the casting agents are usually pretty jaded.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Annoyed, and so I walked in there, and I was like, "Hi." She goes, I went to shake her hand, and she goes, "I don't shake hands." And imagine having an audition after that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the whole energy in the room.
Yeah, and it was always some mean
because they do this They do this all day. And
and imagine being a Black woman trying to get an audition, and it's like
it must. Listen. I've never been, so I can only just imagine or listen to the stories, but I can't imagine. Well, I think what's interesting,
imagine if you had a role, if they only had one role for a Jewish girl.
A Jewish girl, yeah.
So
exactly.
they have that in the description. And they're specifically looking for a girl that's Jewish.
Yes.
And you're doing that in front of a whole bunch of white casting directors.
Yeah. No, I can.
And that energy.
I feel like maybe now it would be better because I feel
the world has changed.
The world has changed. Yeah. And there's also, I think, pressure on people.
Yeah, to be more inclusive. I think that's
the more truth. They're
to be more open.
Because if they're not, it doesn't look PC enough for them. And so their brand will be, or the show will be getting the brunt of it. So they'll have to be more diverse. But to your point, I can imagine back then, and also even now, everyone has their own personal bias or of what, and no one really knows what happens in people's brains, right?
Yeah.
What they say and how they actually think are so different.
It's so true.
So you don't even know. But I think in general, it can be a very it's hard on your. It's a very, what do you call it when it's not emasculating, but it's a very,
your ego is definitely
it's a very hard business, humbling experience. It is. I've never been an actress. I don't want.
Oh my God,
not for me.
No, it is not for me.
So how many auditions were you going on? Were you doing it?
I was doing quite a few, and even that, being broke and having to spend $600 on some headshots. Who has that money?
It's so hard. I know. I mean, the whole business. And then it's random who you hit, how it hits, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the person's looking for.
Yeah. You have no idea.
And so
either you're it or not. Some of these people. You have to leave your ego at the door.
Yeah. You really have. You have to be super tough, or you have to made of Teflon, because it says you have no idea.
Yeah.
So that didn't last. Okay. No. So then.
So I said I dabbled in acting. I can't remember where I was.
Yeah, you were dabbling in acting. You hated it. Yeah. But then you said you wanted to move. You're going to move back to Texas.
Yes, so I was going to move back to Texas because I had nothing going on, and I'm heading down an escalator. And I run into DJ D-Rec, the guy that I met when I did do a movie. I did do a movie.
You did?
Yes. Don't need to tell y'all what it was because it was really bad.
I'm going to look it up.
But I knew him when I did a movie. His name was DJ D-Rec, Nick Cannon's DJ. And so I'll never forget, I ran into him and I was trying to get out of it. I haven't seen this guy in a long time. So it's when you don't see someone for a long time. Yeah. You don't want them to ask how you're doing and how's life when life isn't great. You just kind of want to just
avoid
exit to the left. You don't want them to ask you any questions so you can say, "Oh, I'm in school."
Yeah, I totally get that 100%. You just want to kind of avoid the whole situation.
Yeah, be like, "Hey, good to see you out."
Yeah.
He stopped me. Got off the phone, stopped me. He was on the phone. He let me call you right back. Let me call you right back. I'm like,
uh-oh.
No.
Now you got to sit there and talk to him.
Yeah. So I'm talking to a hip hop DJ and he's asking me questions like, how am I doing? What's going on? And I just said, I'm good. I'm in school. I'm not really doing music anymore. He's like, you do music. What kind of music do you sing? without thinking this man was going to have any connection to the country world, I said, I sing country music. And he was like, my boy, Julian Raymond, has been looking for a Black female country singer. And I was like, well, I'm your girl. And just like that, my life changed.
See, it was a conversation that you didn't want to take, I'm so glad that you just gave me that story.
Yes.
Because I think that is, I always say that it's the people you always least expect to actually help you the most. Mm-hmm. People always think you have to, it has to come from some powerful source and this other thing. It doesn't. And like, if you, again, this was your destiny, because if you just like kept on moving, you wouldn't have had that conversation with him. Who would have thought a hip hop DJ would be the one? Any
connection? And then just to think about it, like go back even further, I'm sitting in front of Jessica Bendinger and she's telling me, asking me what I want to do. And I said, I want to sing country music. And then she said, just do it. And I had no idea.
And
no
then you just
connection.
Surprising that you even said country music at that point. You could, like the fact that you just like blurted it out to him for the first time you've ever said it.
And I said it, I'm thinking like, there's no way this man's going to have any connection and I can just keep moving on.
So then what happens? He tells you
he was
Julian.
Like, he gave me his phone number and I was like, wow. It felt different when I said it. And even when he said, I have someone I want to introduce you to, it felt different. And so I went home. The next morning, it was surprising my mom for her birthday. And my roommate at the time didn't show up for my work shift at my other job, the job that was giving me really good tips that I needed. And I got fired from my job.
Because someone else not showing up.
Yeah. But I was still like, I didn't need to work there anyway. I hated working there. And something about this conversation felt right. And then this was over the course. I was working on and off with Julian for the last 3 years. And he's the reason why I got my record deal.
So some random conversation you had with this DJ led you to the guy that actually got you the record deal. So where's Julian now?
Julian Raymond works at Big Machine in Nashville.
And that's a big
it's
label.
It's where Taylor Swift used to be signed. She's not there anymore. Taylor's now at Universal.
Oh, so Taylor's on your record label? Universal?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But she's not Nashville. She's global.
She's global. Yeah. But you're Nashville?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought once you're on Universal, it would be
it's all the same, but you're just under different umbrellas. Like I'm under Capitol umbrella. I think she's Universal proper.
Gotcha. Okay. And Big Machine is where she was. Who else is on Big Machine? There are some other artists, I'm not sure. Like Brett Young. Oh, okay.
I guess what I'm saying. I could say them.
I wouldn't even know them anyway. No. But then what did he do at Big Machine? Was he A&R?
A&R.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then he got you the deal at Capitol?
Yes. So he introduced me to my management, Gary Borman and Steve Moyer, who managed Keith Urban.
Yeah.
They managed Lady Antebellum and they managed Faith Hill.
So why would you decide to Big Machine then?
He wasn't working at Big Machine. He's now working at Big Machine.
Oh, at the time he wasn't. What was he doing back then?
He was just doing production and he was working at Warner LA.
Oh, so he wasn't, I was thinking like,
he didn't live in Nashville. He didn't live in Nashville.
So you worked with him here in LA. Mm-hmm. And then when did you finally move to Nashville then?
I moved to Nashville. So I met Julian when I was like
24,
24-ish, 25-ish. I think I might have been 25. I can't put
I'll
age number.
Okay, 20.
It's too. Okay. It's too.
It's close enough. Okay, we don't have to be exact.
Yeah,
okay, 25.
Yeah, 25, 26, something. I don't know. It's so long ago, and so I was working with him for like 2 years or something like that. So
before you moved,
before I moved
to Nashville,
and
then so he didn't have. So then when you moved to Nashville, you already had. So he got you this manager with Keith Urban.
And then my managers introduced me to these songwriters I started writing with, and then they introduced me to Mike Dungan, the now chairman of Universal Nashville, but he was the president of Capitol Records.
Got you. Then you got your record deal, another wedding, as you would call it.
Yes, a wedding.
Another wedding. Okay. And then what happens? You moved to Nashville.
I moved to Nashville.
And that's when I get the call from you. I'm moving to Nashville.
Yes.
Right.
And then I moved to Nashville.
And I was like, what? You're doing country now?
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
And like the fact that you like did that pivot, so to speak. I mean, again, the resilience. If something's not working in one way, you figured out a way to make it work in another way.
Mm-hmm.
And then so then you move there, and then what happens?
So then I moved to Nashville and I started writing a country record. And it was very fun and hard.
How long were you doing it for?
10 years. I just released my first album.
So like that's what they
last year.
It took that long.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Tell us. Tell me.
So first of all, once I got signed there, then Capitol was sold to Universal.
Right.
So there was that lull in that period where there was no president.
Here we go again, right?
But at the same time, it was like I said, a lot of times you sign an artist and then you try to change everything that made that artist special enough for you to sign them, then you start changing it. So everybody's making and I see it happen to so many new artists that are now being signed way after me. And I try to have lunch with these girls and I'm like, don't let them change who you are.
You tell this to these people? Yes.
I say stand in exactly who you are and don't ever waver from that, because they will try to change you and it won't work. And I know because I dealt with it.
Right.
And it's like any song that I wrote, it was overly scrutinized. It wasn't going to be enough for country radio. And you need to make records that sound super, super country because you're Black.
Wow.
Is what I was told, literally. And they're telling me this as I'm listening. There was this whole wave. It's kind of gone back to super country now, but there was a wave, about a 10-year wave on country radio where everything was like had a trap beat in it and had R&B melodies, and it's what you call bro country. And it's still, country radio is going to be what country radio is. It's a heavy male driven industry, and they don't really have a lot of room for women, and they will tell you that. On record.
Right, on record. And then, so you're doing if I'm getting my timeline right, it still was about 8 at least years until your album comes out. Because when did this album come out officially?
September 24th.
So
2021.
But the single came out before.
Oh my God, I released a single in 2016.
And that's what, okay. So why did it take so long?
It was so the single I released was like the #1 most debuted act added songs in history. And
in history?
Yeah, in history of country music. Yeah. It was a big deal. And we thought, oh, this is it. This is going to happen.
What was it called for people who don't know?
It was called Better Than You Left Me. And it was working. It was going. And what ended up happening, a song of a girl that is a really good friend of mine, and I love her, got On the Verge. And it's On the Verge. I don't know if it still is a thing, but it's a program that iHeartRadio does where they, when an artist gets that, they put that artist's song in heavy rotation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's a program for like 6 weeks, and 9 times out of 10, that song will go #1. And she got it. And her song was a ballad too. And they literally have gone on record and said that they don't play 2 female ballads in a row. So they kept her song and dropped mine.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What song was it? The other song?
It doesn't matter. But it came out and that was a devastating blow to me. And we were going for this next slot and it was working. And it was devastating. It devastated everything. Like I was on a major tour, and imagine being on a major tour and seeing your single die on the radio, and people that weren't once excited about you don't care at all that you're there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's why I say getting the record deal is the wedding.
Yeah.
And even up to getting to the point of releasing a song like Better Than You Left Me, that was the first song I ever wrote when I moved to Nashville. And they recorded it every which way. I went through all these different producers. I'm telling you, like, they tried to alter everything, and they finally circled back around on this song.
Wow.
And it took 4 years for me to just get that. And to get a song on country radio, I don't know how it is anymore, but you have to do this thing called radio tour, where you have to fly or get in a van and drive all over every region and just visit all these radio stations and sit in a conference room with white walls and, you know, those lights, and sing for them alone in a room. And you're doing that everywhere. And then you have to go to dinner, and then you have to sign and go on their radio station and promote and to do all of that. At one point, I even had to sing this country ballad at a Vegas pool party.
Really?
Girl.
Why?
That's where the radio station, it was their idea to do this. And like, new artists would interrupt a Vegas pool party to sing their song for these people that aren't even there to listen to you in the first place. Yes. It's in not Vegas, glamorous. Yeah. It's Vegas, girl.
That's so crazy.
And so all of that just to get your song added on the radio. And then once it didn't work, then the label's looking at you like you're a liability, you're not working. And so then you just keep getting pushed further and further and further back. And you feel like you're being left more and more and more behind. And I had to deal with that.
So that, how did you resurrect from that?
Like, oh my God. I mean, I went through a lot. I kept writing. That was one thing I never stopped doing, is I kept writing. But then at a certain point, I was writing for no reason because I had nothing to say, because I was trying to do everything that they wanted me to be, and that didn't work. So anything else that I wrote or did, it wasn't going to matter. They were going to already see me as someone that doesn't work.
So that was 2016 about?
That was 2016, 17, 18, 19. This all was very recent.
And then, but they didn't even drop you though, right?
They didn't drop me.
They weren't,
but
like,
every year I kept asking to be let go.
So how were you making money then?
I wasn't.
So you were did you have another job also then?
I didn't have another job, but I had a husband who was my sole support at a certain point. Like, I had nothing.
So how did it, at what point did it hit? Like, it went from...
So in 2019 is when I started. I finally had my meeting with Cindy, Mabe, and I said, I really want you to take over my project. Because I had all men working on my project, and I did everything that they told me to do, and it didn't work. And I said, if I stay, I really want you to take over my project. She goes, okay, I will. That was the first step. And the next step was me. I mean, I remember I was so skinny and on diet pills and drinking too much.
You were?
Oh my God, yeah. And at this time,
because
I remember,
is that because they told you to be skinny?
No, I was just being a dumb woman that was trying to keep up with the Joneses in this town, you know?
Oh my gosh.
I know. And
how long were you doing that for?
Maybe like 6 months. Yeah.
How skinny did you get? You're skinny now.
I was pretty small. And I remember I went to the record label because I had been writing these songs that I'd kept to myself. Like, I didn't even feel like it was a point in playing it for anybody, because they weren't going to listen to it with any other ears that weren't geared for country radio. And I'm like, they're not going to play me. They're not. They're not going to play me. So why am I continuously on this hamster wheel?
Right.
We've got to try something different. And so I remember I went to the label and I had all these new songs that I'd wrote. And the first thing that the chairman of Universal said to me was like, oh, you look like you got taller. I'm like, Mike, I haven't grown since I was 15.
Oh my God.
I'm the same height. I'm 33 years old. I'm the same height. And I remember we sat down and I played my songs, and he was like, there's just no room for pop on country radio. And I said, with all due respect, Mike, after all the pop music that you've released on your male country artists, you can never say that word in my music again. And that's where I I took my power back and I stood up for myself.
And what did he say?
He goes, okay.
That's all? That's all?
Yeah. And I'm inside. I was
like dying. Yeah.
It took so long for me to say that. Yeah. I was really scared, you know?
No kidding. I know.
And there's a way to deliver things, you know? That's the other thing. In order to get where you want, there's a way to talk to people. I believe, and they can hear you. And I could have gone and there was a tyrant like, well, y'all haven't done this and you promised this and blah, 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 blah. But I had to take it from a very like level-headed place. Non-emotional, you know? And that's what I had to do in that moment. And I had to say, I'm not making music for you, Mike. You're not my audience. I said, my audience is women, the LGBTQIA plus community, Black people. That's my audience. And that's where I'm headed. And in order for this to work, I need you to trust me and allow me to figure myself out as an artist. I have done everything that you guys have told me to do, and it is not working.
And they listened to you?
And they listened to me. And then I slept for 3 days.
Really?
I could not get out of bed for 3 days. And like I'd always heard, you know, when people are going through anxiety or depression or something like that, that they can't get out of bed. I didn't know. I'd be like, what do you mean? Just get out of bed. I was super ignorant like that until I felt that feeling. Like I was sick. I was completely ill. And it wasn't because I was actually sick, but I think I had released all of this pent-up anxiety that I had for 7 years. I was holding it all in like I was a ticking time bomb. And the only way I coped with it was through diet pills and liquor.
Right. I mean, that's what diet? I mean, don't even tell me.
That was not a good one. Let's just put it that way. It was not a good
What
diet
were the
pill.
diet pills like?
They just made me skinny like all the girls in country music.
Like I was going to say, did you feel that did you feel somewhere that the reason why you weren't hitting success was because you didn't look the way you should look? Did you?
I felt
was it
like
playing on your self-esteem and the physically?
That, and I felt like I needed to. I was looking all around me like these women are usually super small and tall.
I never understood how they can be that. So how is it that everybody's small? It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. You can't. Like you have to be starving yourself. There's no way. There's no way
everyone's a zero.
There's no freaking way. I know. There's no way. There's no way. If you're eating, like you can work out all you want, but like in order to look like that,
working out only gets you so far.
Fit, yeah.
It can get you stronger. You could get better endurance.
Yeah.
But like, take it from me now. This is now my area of expertise. It's all diet. Diet is 90%. If you're going to be eating badly or just eating, you're not going to, if you're not eating properly and so precise, you're going to gain.
And who wants to eat completely precise all the time?
It's
There's
impossible.
no way.
It's very hard to maintain that. It's almost impossible.
You ain't telling no, like I know, like that is just, it was just a bad place.
It's terrible.
Where I was at. I was in a very bad place, very bad mindset. But I think it was a form of control for me too.
That's why people do it.
That was the only
easiest way to control is like
that was the only thing I could control. Like everything else, I couldn't control what the industry wanted. And to be honest, like I'm still I have a hard time getting out of that mind frame. Like when you're told no for 20 something years, at a certain point you start seeing so many faults in yourself. So that once confident girl that you met when I was 19, I'm not that girl anymore.
Yeah, you are.
I am in a sense, but I also...
You got it back. I mean, maybe
I'm getting it back, but I still, like, it's a battle for me.
You were beaten
mental
up.
Things, yeah.
Yeah.
Mental...
You were definitely beaten up.
Yeah.
But, like, you also have shown proven resilience. Yeah. I believe it. Like, you're right. Like, afterwards, like a battered wife, right? Yes. Like, you're like... But it's true.
So I still sometimes take on the mind frame of, like... And a lot of us do, like even after having a baby, like all this stuff happened to me when in a pandemic and I was pregnant.
Well, that's when you hit it. That's what's so but like, that's what's so random
it's
about
so
it.
random.
Like, you know, like it wasn't working when you were like young.
No.
When you were in 19, it wasn't working. But then like all of a sudden, you know, you're pregnant, you're
everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah. And like in the pandemic, and what was that? Like,
I have no idea.
What made it hit all of a sudden?
I have no idea. I had the songs.
So like, did you release anything different?
No,
So that song, Better Than Me.
No. I released Black Like Me.
No, sorry. But Better Than, no, I know. But Better Than You Left Me was 2016. You released Black Like Me
in 2020.
I thought 2019. Okay. 2020. You're right. Okay. Obviously you're right. You know more than I do. Do you?
In a pandemic.
But what made you release it then?
Well, so I had it recorded and mastered by the end of 2019.
Okay.
And we were trying to figure out a place to release it and a playlist for it to playlist, but we didn't have any definitive plan. And then the world shut down. And when the world shut down, then there was the death of Ahmaud Arbery. There was the death of Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
And then there was the death of George Floyd.
Right.
And I think that back to back.
Gotcha.
I mean, I saw these and I was just devastated. And so I just released a clip of it on my social media. Just a clip, just the chorus.
So it wasn't even released.
It wasn't like...
It wasn't released by your record label.
No, I put it out on my social media and that's when it like had this just crazy response. And
what kind of response?
My inbox, like I couldn't keep up with the messages. It was so much. It was so many messages. And then I did a podcast with my girlfriend, Jana, and her husband a while back. And they were playing devil's advocate with racism. And it was very upsetting. I was very pregnant. Didn't know. And
you didn't know you were pregnant?
No, I didn't know I was pregnant at this time. And this conversation made me really, really upset. And I was upset on the podcast. So you heard it. I was sobbing my eyes out. Like the girl's husband was just so disrespectful to me. And it broke me down to the worst place. I'm like, I'm watching, like, I just saw this man murdered, Ahmaud Arbery, and you're debating on whether Black people have received racism or not. It was baffling. And so all these people listened to that podcast and that blew it up too. And then Blackout Tuesday happened and then Spotify asked for the song. And then I released it and then just this whole thing. The next thing I know, I'm singing at the Grammys 2 weeks after I gave birth, by the way.
So let me get this straight, because I knew these bits and pieces. I didn't know that this was kind of done. This was totally
me.
You. And this was not your record label. And this was not a planned strategy. This was literally like, it was really like a question of you took an opportunity or timing.
Yeah.
And it kind of it basically just spiraled from there.
And it wasn't like, I didn't look at it.
Oh my God.
And I didn't look at it as an opportunity. People.
It wasn't even intentional.
For me, it wasn't like, I was like, ooh, this is a moment here. It was like, I was devastated at watching what was happening in the world.
You just like, it was, but you did it. It was
impulsive. Like it was something I just was like, well, I'm just going to put it, I'm not going to ask my label to do it. I'm just going to put it out there. And I was like, this is for Ahmaud Arbery. This is for Breonna Taylor.
On YouTube or just
no.
You just put it on your own social media.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then from there, everything else happened in Spotify and then this.
And the next thing I know, I'm pregnant, having to do all of this, and I've had a baby. Yeah.
Okay, so this is so recent.
Oh, it's so recent.
So cut to now.
Like so recent, like you know what happens after you give birth.
I know.
So I was trying to sing.
I know. I mean, that's amazing. Can I say that or no?
Yeah, I was peeing on myself.
She was peeing on herself, everybody, when she was trying to sing at the Grammys.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy to me. So let me get this straight. So then this is all in the last year.
Yeah. The reason, because when you give birth,
Oh, you're on that still. Okay.
Yeah. People didn't know. It's not like I was just peeing on myself.
You just had a baby and then you're on like you're doing the Grammys.
To sing and to push from your diaphragm.
But what I can't even believe is, I mean, it just all happened truly. Like it went feast to famine to feast.
It was like famine.
Famine to famine, famine, feast.
Famine
so feast. From there, let me just kind of like just set this up for you. So cut to, that was in 2000, that's 2020. 2022 right now. You're now doing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. You're up for 3 Grammys. You're doing
Sesame Street.
You're doing
a show with Reese Witherspoon.
You're doing a show with Reese Witherspoon produced on Apple. Produced, you'll be a judge on a show.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're also going to be guest hosting for Ellen.
Yes.
That's all, like literally, like, but this is to me momentum, right? Because one thing triggers another thing, triggers another thing. So, and all because you released that little clip from that song.
Yeah.
And so then when did your label decide to release the album? Like they had to move fast.
So so when the world shut down, while the world was shutting down and people were on Instagram and doing Instagram lives and
that's all they were doing.
I didn't do that. I hit up my producer and I was like, Karen, we have this opportunity here. Karen. I know.
The irony is so
Karen Kosowski. She's got blue hair, white woman.
Oh my God.
She's amazing.
Her name is Karen.
Her name is Karen. And I said, there's an opportunity here. We need tell me the gear to get. This is in the beginning of the pandemic. I said, tell me what gear to get. And I can try to figure out how to work Logic while we're in this pandemic so we can produce and write and put out a record. There's something here. We can't just wait. And she's like, I agree. And she told me all the gear to get. Cindy Mabe, the president of my label, cleared it. My husband paid for it while they were waiting to get the money. And now I don't need the gear. A lot of the gear is sold out because everybody finally got on the thing. But Karen and I, within the first month of the pandemic, we learned how to record vocals remotely. And I was doing music the whole time. So I was creating and building an album this entire time. And that album was created remotely.
So that album,
Karen was in Nashville. I was here in LA and we were recording through Zoom.
So you did that album that's up for all these
in
Grammys
my house.
In your house while the pandemic was happening?
Mm-hmm. In my bedroom.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is
pregnant too. There was moments where I was super pregnant. So some of the songs, it would depend on the day when I could record it. I would have to record before I ate, because if I eaten, once your baby's super big, you don't have any room anywhere for your diaphragm to go. So if I had food in my stomach, I couldn't sing. Yeah.
That's the definition of hustle right there.
Yep.
You actually literally capitalized on that is an opportunity. You saw an opportunity because you already had the momentum.
Yeah. And I wasn't going to just let it go away just because we were in a pandemic.
And you just jumped on that chance. Yep. And now your whole career is
it's crazy. And it's just one thing I've learned is just because someone says no doesn't mean that that's the end all. And so often in life, we're put in these boxes and we're supposed to for some reason, people have created this imaginary box that doesn't exist to make sense of everybody, but you don't really, it doesn't exist.
Yep.
It literally doesn't exist. And if something doesn't work one way, find another way.
I know. I always
don't give up on yourself just because that person said no, or just because 20 people said no.
Don't change your goal, change your plan.
Yeah, exactly.
You're speaking my words. I totally agree. If one person says no, it doesn't mean it, who cares? I mean, go find another person or go find another door or no right now.
Or make your own door.
Or make your own door. That exactly. Who cares? Don't put your destiny on someone else. Don't make someone else decide on your destiny or your future. You got to take the ownership and do it yourself. Yeah. I didn't even realize that was happening this whole album was done in the pandemic. I assume that album was done. They just weren't releasing the album.
I mean, I had a lot of these songs written. Some of these songs were 3-4 years old.
But wasn't recorded.
That wasn't recorded. So
you mean...
And so that whole time I didn't know the way. I actually did know the way, and I was subconsciously making this way and recording this album. Like I was doing some music to appease my label, and then I was doing the other music to appease myself. And that is real artistry, is making art for yourself, not art to fit in a format.
And also you took matters into your own hand, and you're creating yourself. You're actually create your own future and destiny.
And I constantly was working. I was constantly working and building. That's the one thing I never stopped working. Like even when they said no, I never stopped writing. I still showed up every Monday through Friday and wrote many songs. And whether they were good or not, I still showed up. That
is really amazing. I mean, what a change of lifestyle for you, right?
Yeah.
So like, what are you doing now? Like, how are you, like, now what? So now the album's out.
Now that the album's out.
How many albums have you, like, do you know the numbers of the
album?
album?
I don't know the numbers.
How is it
But
doing?
I know it, I mean, fairly. I mean, it's Grammy nominated. I would say that's
well, I know. But is it always, is there a correlation sometimes between?
The correlation is really like, the Grammy, it's like your peers are listening to your music, and they go for the music, not for chart success, but for the actual body of work, which is like, thank God, because I mean, country radio isn't supporting me, so I'm not having success there.
Where's all your success really coming from then?
From the world, the film and television. That's where my success is coming from. Yeah.
Because you're getting so many ancillary opportunities that are not even related to this stuff, right? Like you're right. Like, but it's weird because you're up for best country album, best country song, best country solo.
I don't have a top 10 hit
in the country. How is that possible?
Well, whenever you put out an album, anybody can submit for a record. Like anybody could submit, but when they're listening to the actual music. And just because what is working on country radio doesn't necessarily make it good music.
Well, because isn't Taylor Swift, and wasn't she initially considered a country music person?
She was.
And then did she really like? It's not like she became like she does more pop, but is it like who's giving you those categories?
I mean, I made a country record, so those are the categories that I.
But they're not even recognizing you. You said, and that's more
the country radio.
Country radio
isn't recognizing me, but the industry does.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if country radio isn't, that's just like that. It has nothing to do with the actual.
Yeah.
Got it. I see.
Yeah, that has nothing. Like Casey Musgraves, for example, like she doesn't have any top 10 radio hits. But she was nominated and won Album of the Year for her album Golden Hour. And that was an incredibly beautiful album that country radio chose not to support.
Oh, God. So much of this is like politics. And that's why like it's just it's like one little variable can change the trajectory. Trajectory. I can never say that word properly of someone's life. And, it really takes the onus on that person to really kind of guide the ship and make things happen. And wow. So now what's next? Like besides all those things I told you, we said just now.
So I'm an observer and the way this industry and the way the world works, like our attention span is like that.
Totally.
So yes, I have this album. I'm ready to put out new music, hopefully by March or April.
Are you serious?
Dead serious.
So
I mean, that's how hip hop artists do. Like they're consistently, you have to consistently, in order to continue, in my personal opinion and from my observations, and in order to continue to build, you have to have product. You're consistently
It's
releasing
like content.
product.
You have to have it's like,
constant, or else they've moved on. Like you've got about 20 seconds.
And by the way, that time, like that 20 seconds has actually become 12 seconds. That's why crazy? TikTok is so popular. Instagram now, people don't have the patience to even go through.
No.
So like the truth of the matter is, I know like that's why people are constantly churning out content, because people's attention span is so little.
And if you think about it, like those videos on TikTok, that takes days to make. Like it takes so much time, and they're just,
I know,
you're like constantly on your phone. And that's another hard thing for me is that like, how do I be an artist in a world where there's constant, you're needing constant gratification for 12 seconds or less, 6 seconds.
Well, that's why people build teams, right? They have a social media team. Very few people, when they hit a certain place, are even doing their own social media or doing their own, because it's the content creation on just that level alone.
It takes
you're churning out shit.
You have to take a day to do it.
It's those like to your point, 10 seconds of video takes hours to edit. And to think of what, like, look at JLo stuff. She's pumping out, like, you think she's doing any of that stuff? She's not touching her.
No,
she's not touching that stuff.
Getting her facials.
Right. She's not doing hours of editing, and she's not writing those, what do you call those things? Those like captions.
Yeah.
You know,
there's somebody writing them. They know their voice.
I mean, that's just what the reality is, you know, because you don't have time.
No.
So okay, so now when will you have a full album? Or are you gonna just drop?
I want to drop some EPs,
yeah,
and then do another album, hopefully this year or next year. But I want to consistently have like bodies of work, whether it's in the form of an EP or an album.
Jeez,
I know it's a lot.
It's a lot, and I can't believe.
And be a mom.
And be a mom. I was going to say, and like you're traveling a lot. You're still but you still you're the same girl. Why did you change? Why did you go from Michael to Mickey?
Because people were calling me
people
Mickey.
Just called you Mickey all the time?
Mickle too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
was like, oh, that's a cute name.
I mean, Mickey, I never called you Mickey, but I thought maybe other people called you Mickey. All right. So we know what's coming out. You're going to be putting out new music in the next few months in March. Anything else, my dear?
And I mean, I have no idea. I'm just consistently trying to put out more music and do more film and television.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I really enjoy that.
I mean, and I'm sure, when does the show come out?
My Kind of Country?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Wow.
They haven't told us yet.
Well, you're going to have to come back on anyway.
I will.
By the way, this has been such a different podcast for me, because I feel
you know me.
I know you, and I'm like so happy for you.
Thank you.
And to see what's gone on.
I'm so happy for you.
Oh, now. But I'm happy for you because you have just to see your career evolve, and now to be a mom, and
the mom thing is crazy.
You're a mom, and you're like a grown woman now.
I'm a woman.
You're not like 19.
I'm not.
You still have a bad knee, or now two
bad knees. Lord Almighty.
Oh my gosh! But you're still you.
Still me.
Oh my gosh! And like the sweetest, amazing kid alive. You're still a kid to me. So can you tell people, for people who don't know who you are, or what you're doing, where they can find your music and you?
Yes.
And
so again, my name is Mickey Guyton. I am a country singer, also just artist. And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, which I'm still figuring out, Twitter, Facebook, all of them. And it's at Mickey Guyton. That's MickeyGuyton. So y'all can find me there. You can stream my music on Spotify, Apple Music,
everywhere, basically.
Everywhere. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you don't even have to go through all that song and dance. People can you can say, Google
streaming,
me.
Google me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, I'm sure people can find it. So, all right, dear, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't wait to talk to you after, even after you finish with the national anthem, and in 3 months, you're going to be even at a different place. And it's going to be so beautiful to watch you grow. From a close, not from afar anymore, actually. From a close.
I'm so glad when you when you saw me on the Today Show. I'd been following you. I just didn't want to
Well, I don't even understand that. That's the craziest thing in the
I
world.
didn't know. Like,
Well,
I
how would
saw
I forget about you?
I just didn't
this-
know.
it's the
You're
craziest
this
thing.
big time.
Oh yeah, please, God, I love this girl. See, look how down to earth and how silly she is. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love
and
you.
We'll see you again.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Habits and hustle, time to get it rolling. Stay up on the grind, don't stop, keep it going. Habits and hustle, from nothing into something. All out, hosted by Jennifer Cohen. Visionaries, tune in, you can get to know them. Be inspired, this is your moment. Excuses, we ain't having that. The Habits and Hustle podcast, powered by Habits.